Hello and welcome to sovereignrpg. I'm Sovereign. We're back in Myth of Empires today, and we were raided twice by two major PvP guilds in the space of 24 hours. One being D&T, Death and Taxes, and the other one being, so I'm guessing it's not the real CSTG because they were all American speaking, and it wasn't the same name as the CSTG alliance that they have on there. So I'm guessing it's someone just using CSTG as a way to strike fear into the people. But both raids were pretty successful in, like, they didn't get all of the gear, they didn't get inside of all of the bases, they didn't get like massive amounts of loot or anything. We still got like most of our stuff available, but there were some mistakes that we made whilst building, and there was some mistakes that we made actually setting up the defenses on the walls. Some mistakes were made on placement of buildings and giving people access to certain parts of the bases by just utilizing the standard PvP mechanics to sort of, the people are using all survival games, using their ingenuity and jumping up on top of things to climb up on other things, etc. So today we're going to talk about some tips that would have saved us from even having to worry about being raided, because we had an absolutely giant base and it was a lot to try and take care of, and there was a lot of stuff going on, and we didn't even notice the first raid was in, like, attacking us until they were in the base. Now both of these raids were done at stupid o'clock in the morning. The first time everyone was offline, and we slowly managed to get some people woken up, including myself, at 5 o'clock in the morning, twice in a row, 2 days in a row, and it was several hours on the raids of us having to fight a load of people. Now this video is going to be coming out after we've done the renovations that we're going to be doing to the base, so you're just going to see what the base was like beforehand and what mistakes were made. So hopefully you don't have to deal with the same sort of stuff, and you can sort of help yourself from people using sly dirty tactics, using like the wagons, etc., and other placements of buildings to be able to get past a lot of your defenses. Now you can kind of also use these tips the opposite direction and use them to raid someone's base who doesn't have any understanding of what's going on. I've been sort of playing on a lot of private servers. I haven't been playing as much on the official servers, so a lot of stuff was getting done and built without any sort of full direction. I mean, it's the Christmas period, so leadership were off doing their family stuff, etc., etc. Mistakes were made on all fronts from the leadership and from people below as well. So it's not, I mean, there's no blame to be put there. It was just timing. People raiding on Christmas Day and Boxing Day is, I mean, yeah, it's an arsehole thing to do, but it's a PvP game. What do you expect? So let's go over a few things. Now I'll do it in sort of points, and I'll put it in the timestamps down below, all the different points and the tips that I'll be going through, so you'll be able to jump to whatever one you want. I'll try and sort of describe each tip as best as I can in the timestamp. Now remember, if you do enjoy my Myth of Empires content, please throw up a like. If you'd like to see some more Myth of Empires content, hopefully, because the game may be coming up back soon, considering some of the responses on Twitter and Facebook. So we might have something sorted out very soon where we find out why they're being so talkative and so optimistic on the game coming back up on the store. And we do have a Patreon in the description if you'd like to support me and the channel. So tip number one, do not have staircases on Boulder walls. If you don't have to get up on the Boulder walls, then don't bother doing the staircases. If you want to get on top of the Boulder walls from inside of your base, build a little wooden tower that goes up that you can easily just demolish one piece to get rid of it, so people can't use it to get up and over all of your defenses. If you have multiple walls all in a row, all the way going outside to where, like, to add to the 1-point access that you have on the edges of the cliffs, example. So like if you're surrounded by cliffs and you're going across with all of the actual boundary walls or metal walls or whatever the hell you've got going on, then do not have them attached to each other. Do not have them to where they can get up on the first outer set of walls with the stairs and then run along, climb up onto the next set of walls, and then get over, climb up here, jump over onto the next set of walls, and get inside of your base freely without actually having to break any walls. Make sure they're far enough away so horses can't jump over them, and make sure they're not attached or close enough to be jumped across at any point when you're building those walls out there. It just negates the fact that you've got those walls there in the first place. Now the next tip is to not have buildings along the walls of your main base. Do not have stone mills. Do not have like any of these sort of dens up against the walls. Do not put boxes up against your walls. Don't put tents or stables or anything up against your walls, because they can be utilized in a lot of different ways to be able to climb up and get like past. For instance, this base here has like his standard base walls, and then we got the actual outer gateway walls, the defensive walls, to like sort of double up the amount they would need to do. But if you have this stone mill here, for example, which someone randomly placed while they were making something and it was just something that slipped by, you can actually just put a cart on top of it. You can jump up onto the cart. You can then jump up on, I missed the jump there, so I'm gonna have to do that again. And I can use that to jump on top of these walls and then jump up if you have a layer up there, or jump over the walls if you have them a little bit farther out, so you can get inside and start banging on your door with just weapons. But if you put a little bit of an overhang on the edges of the walls, then they won't be able to jump up on the walls themselves. Now, without that there, I could jump up on top of this wall. I could jump from that wall on top of the next point and just skip the whole bottom layer and just go in through the top. And they can do that with buildings. If you've got little overhangs, like, make sure that if you've ever played Assassin's Creed before, you're going to know that you can't really jump around and do a lot of different things, because people will parkour up your stuff. And having that overhang actually stops the use of people using the wagons to stick the cruel torture racks on top, so they climb on top of the wagon, climb on top of the cruel torture rack, and then jump over your walls. They can do that with all of the Boulder walls, etc. Especially if you have the perks in the heavy armor and the light armor. You can just go up, put the wagon up against the wall with a cruel torture rack, jump on top, and then jump up and over the Boulder walls. So Boulder walls currently, as a game mechanic, are pretty shitty until they change the cruel torture racks. Now, if you've got stairs on the inside going up, this is another thing to do with the stairs. If you've got stairs on the inside going up, they can get inside and they can get back outside again using your stairs. So you don't actually have to have anything placed inside. Now, tip number 3 is to have your base and anything that you want to keep protected overnight inside of the white circle that comes from your boundary marker. If you do not have it inside of there, they will be able to break anything outside of that. Make sure to utilize your sort of protection timers and pay your taxes for each week and get those times when you're not online, because the most of the time you get the PvP guilds who are sweaty tryhards. Like, I'm a sweaty tryhard, yes, but I still have some sort of things that I don't do because I get bored offline raiding people. It's just something that I just don't enjoy doing, and as a general rule of thumb. Obviously, if we have everything together and we go to raid someone's base and no one's home, then we're not exactly going to turn around and go home. That's standard. But there are people who literally wake up at stupid o'clock in the morning to offline raid people on purpose all the time, and that's the way they get their gear and stuff, which I won't begrudge them. It's part of the game. You can't always be awake, but there is the protection timers there to help you get past that. Now, when it comes to your boundary marker, because we had the top open, they were firing rocks over the top and hitting the boundary marker, so they could take out the boundary marker without actually getting inside, and that will help them to be able to sort of step the decay going and help them every, like, when they're actually building, to drop the amount of HP on boxes, drop the amount of HP on walls and doors, etc., and be able to build their own boundary marker out of the way next to it, upgrade it, and so the ring, the decay ring, goes over and overlaps your base, and it will actually put it up to like 20% an hour that it loses HP. So for instance, if they broke that boundary marker and it went all the way over to where those trees are over there, place the boundary marker away from the buildings, they could upgrade it, spread the actual boundary marker out, and make your stuff decay a lot faster. That's something that a lot of people are utilizing at the moment. A lot of people didn't know that that was a thing. We have been told previously that you could do it, but no one could ever build close enough with the personal flags and the boundary markers. But basically what you need to do is place the boundary marker down and then upgrade it as far as you can to get the blue circle to overlap the buildings that you're fighting against. Now, tip number 4, if you have a cliff edge over the top here, people can build up and over and jump over. But if you have sort of like pillars going on here, I mean, it's not, we put the pillars here because it was in the middle of the raid and we didn't want them building up and over again when we destroyed the ramp up. So we just placed the wooden ones here for the moment. If you place these at intervals, the more you have put down, the more that they have to break in order to build up and over. So that just stops them being able to build up and over and into your base without going over any of the walls or doing any of that good stuff. When you're actually doing the raiding, and like when people are raiding you, you want, it's not trying to make your base unraidable. That's not what you're trying to do. It's impossible, especially if you're offline, unless you're in one of those water caves where you can make it pretty much impossible to raid, unless you have so many people going back and forth underwater with meteoric weapons to break down metal stuff, and you're utilizing the sort of exploit of clipping the big gates into the actual water tunnel, which, as you guys know, I don't like doing any of that. I don't like showing exploits until after they're fixed, so I'll show you what they were doing after they were fixed. I don't like doing it while it's still active because it just doesn't help the game. Like a lot of people say telling everyone makes them fix stuff quicker, but they're fixing stuff as quickly as they bloody can, and they're throwing up updates all the time. So It's not got nothing to do with getting them to fix it quicker. People just use that as an excuse to make money on YouTube with big clicks and views on using exploit videos. What you're basically doing is trying to make it cost as many resources as possible to get inside your base. Now, you're never gonna like be able to stop everyone from getting inside. The Zerg guilds like CSTG and a lot of the others like SSSSS, when they have 100 members, they're gonna have as many meteoric weapons as can be thrown at your base, and it doesn't matter, they're going to get in if they want to get in. But a lot of the other guilds that aren't so big, that do like to go around from server to server PvPing, those guys won't be able to do as much as those big Zerg guilds, and they do tend to come at you at early o'clock in the morning. And if you have yours, like your actual fences set up and your taxes paid, then they won't be able to do any sort of offline raiding if they're unable to damage your stuff. Just don't build too big. Don't make the mistake we did and build massive things that are still available to be attacked outside of the actual marker. We're starting to consolidate everything into a smaller, more compact base. Now, tip number 5, utilize the bloody arrow towers. Those things are absolutely mental. If you can stick a siege NPC on there for doubling up, tripling up the damage, doing massive damage, you really want to be able to do that as quickly as possible and get them facing in all directions. Now, they do a sort of, it's not a 180 degree, it's more like a 150 in front of where, when you're placing it down, it'll have a little arrow in the front that will show you the direction it needs to go. And when you place it down, they can only shoot in that angle. But if you sort of have them going off in different angles around the thing, and then have sort of like 1x1s or 2x2s that get built up to a certain level so they can't attack them, and have them facing on like your front doors, or have them facing and sort of overlapping each other, so no matter where they're trying to hide, they're going to get hit by at least one tower. And make sure to have the settings set for long range. Make sure you have the settings set for being able to attack players and animals, because the horses do count as animals. And if you want, you can set some of them as just animals so they kill the horses, because they do kill the horses really quickly, and have the rest set to players so they drop players off when they get down. So it's sort of, the arrow towers are covering each other, so there's not much wasted ammo there. Tip number 6, and this one's pretty damn obvious, but some people still will do it to try and get out of being raided, because you spend a lot of time gathering a lot of the materials, building up your base, and you don't want it to get destroyed. I understand that. A lot of people understand that, which is why a lot of PvPers actually get a lot of fun out of destroying all your stuff, because they know how much it's going to hurt people. But when they come up to you and they say, "We'll stop, give us a fare, give us a certain amount of copper coins," like this one, the fake CSTG guild that came in here, they were asking for a fare, and I was just like, "Nah, mate, it's not going to happen. Like, I wasn't born yesterday." Then they were asking, "Okay, we'll leave you alone if it's got 200k coins." Now, they stopped raiding. They stopped the raid like 20 minutes before that. And the reason why they stopped the raid is because they didn't have enough materials to get in any further or break in any more boxes with their weapons. So what they wanted was us to give them a fare so they could buy more materials to raid the base without having to go back to their home server to grab more materials or go blah, 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 blah. And they more than likely had a fair set up outside. So the fair would be set up outside. They'd be buying materials as they need it, and they'll use it to attack your base. And if you give them copper coins to leave you alone, they'll just use those copper coins to continue to attack you. They don't care about anything other than getting loot and killing people and doing all that good stuff. Now, this video ended up being a lot longer than I wanted it to be, but there's still a few more tips that I want to give you. So that last tip was, do not give raiders anything. If they're going to raid your stuff, they're going to raid your stuff. Make it miserable for them. Just keep annoying them, naked, running around. Make it take as long as possible. Just annoy them. And that comes into the next tip. If you have a load of players raiding you and they're higher level than you and they have higher proficiencies than you, they're going to get very cocky during the raid, and they're going to start leaving their horses around. Now, don't go for the players. Kill the horses. A lot of the PvPers, they're just basically meta twats, and they're just sitting there on their horses with pole arms, one-shotting everyone, and it's just basically what they're doing. If you take their ability to do that away by killing their horses, get 5 of you in some gear, get some decent weapons out, and just kick the shit out of a horse, that horse dies. That guy can no longer do anything with his bloody polearm. He's just going to be sitting there swinging while you're one-handed chopping him to death. So kill the horses as a priority. You kill the horses, you kill the raid. I mean, there will be some people out there that have got like their polearm to 900 and their one-handed to 900 so they can fight on horses and on ground. And it may take a few attempts, and they may move the horses around, or they may like have their horses sitting outside of your walls and your base, etc. If you've got enough doors in front of your base and you've got enough walls and there's enough defenses there and they're attacking your base, then you're going to want to go outside the walls. You're going to want to explore outside, see if they have a stable out there, see if they have a fair, see if they have any of those buildings that are going to help them continue to raid you, and boxes and blah, 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 and whatever. and go outside while they're in here messing with some of your team, thinking they're having the time of their lives. Go out and destroy their shit. Go out there, destroy the fair, destroy their horses, kill all their stuff. When you do manage to kill one, make sure you pick up that loot, get it off their body, get that loot inside, get their gear and weapons inside so they're running out of materials. You don't have to go out there and kill them all and win the raid over and over again. You just got to keep annoying them and annoying them and annoying them until it's taken too long for them to actually raid you. Not everyone can sit there for 14 hours straight raiding a base, or 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. Just prolong it as much as you can. Now, the last tip that I'm going to do on this video, because I don't want it to be 45 minutes long, is playing Fortnite. When they're breaking down doors and they're hitting doors, etc., have a door ready in your inventory for when that door goes down. Just place another door straight away. Now, they'll be able to keep on hitting it, but if you have a load of doors in the way and they're just wasting, because it doesn't matter how much damage they do and all that stuff, they'll still lose durability from every hit that they do, and it'll be a set amount of durability depending on what proficiency they have and what stats they have. So if you keep on putting up wooden doors over and over again and they still one-shot that wooden door, it's still taking durability off their weapons. It's stopping them from having more durability to attack your boxes, to attack more doors, to get inside, to get outside, to kill you. And if you have a door inside and you don't need to go outside, then get rid of the door. If you've got a double door going on, this is one of the old bases is going to be destroyed soon. If you've got a double door, then just delete this door and put metal walls there. Put metal walls there, build up another thing over here. We have triangle foundations so we can just crisscross walls and stuff all the way over. Just build another 2 walls there, build walls up, put ceilings up, put all of this stuff in here. You can see where they actually started breaking stuff down when they got in through the roof. And that's okay. So this isn't going to be my final tip. There's going to be one more tip after this. Just cover it up. Cover up the doors. If you don't need to go outside, cover up the doors, and it's just going to take them much longer. They're going to have to get siege up, and when they have siege up, they're going to have players that are sitting on the siege, and you can run up behind them. If you've got beds in different areas, you can respawn, get some gear, go up behind them, kill them while they're on the siege, etc. You can just really annoy people. Jump on top of the ram and beat the crap out of the ram with iron hammers, bronze hammers. You'll do decent amount of damage to stop them from being able to actually use the ram. And the more you're damaging the ram, the more they won't be sitting on the ram, the longer it's going to take to raid. That's the main point of this plan, is to prolong it as much as possible. Now, lastly, do not have an open roof on your base. Do not have your bases up against the walls where they can jump on and jump on top of your base, get inside whatever door you have on the top and get inside your whole base. The front door is not the only entrance. If you have doors anywhere up to get on the outside or anything like that, make sure that they are covered. Double up on the walls. Put 2 sets of walls down. Put 2 sets of ceilings down, so they have to break through 2 sets of ceilings, just as much as possible. Again, it's another way for you to prolong the battle, to make sure they're using the durability up on their weapons. And if you don't have to, then do not go outside and attack them. If they're going out there and they're attacking, the more weapons that you give them, the more weapons that they'll have to attack you with, the more armor they'll have to attack you with. So if you're going out there with meteoric and you're fight 1v6 and they go out and kill you, they're going to get all your meteoric weapons. Only go out with 1 weapon. Make sure it's a lower tier weapon. You can use your steel, your black iron, your whatever. Don't run out there in meteoric, especially if you're overwhelmed, or if like they're completely full proficiencies and everything. You're definitely not going to want to run outside and just die over and over again, because they'll use their weapon, your own weapons against you. Now, that's just some basic tips on being raided and what you can do, and also like people can obviously use it as the ways to raid bases if they see these sort of vulnerabilities. There'll be more guides coming out about the defensive stuff as we learn stuff. We can't know everything in a game, and that certain guilds will learn more about raiding than you will, and you have to learn as you're being attacked. And every time we get attacked, I will be trying to teach you guys how to stop what they did from happening to you that happens to us. Now, obviously, me being me, I'm going to be targeted a hell of a lot more than your average person. And people are starting to realize, and they know where we are now, and they're going to be coming over and doing some stuff. So we're going to be testing out a lot of different defenses. Now, we don't care if we get raided, wiped, and whatever. We're just going to rebuild, go somewhere else, rebuild somewhere else, and we'll learn from the mistakes that were made in the previous fight and just try and grow from there. You can't get butthurt about it. If you get butthurt about PvP, then don't play on a PvP server. That's my personal opinion. And that's basically the whole video. I'm sorry for the length of the video. Remember to like the video if you did enjoy it. Remember to subscribe if you'd like to see some more. And we do have a Patreon in the description if you would like to support myself and the channel. I'm going to go get some sleep after being raided for 24 hours straight. Thank you for watching. Fly safe and avoid local chat scams.